At the moment, I'm the only one up and at 'em. My pack is virtually packed, except for my raincoat on top. And deal with the water bottles. I've got the extra water that lady was so gracious, not just only to offer and go carry my bladder down there and fill it with water, but she filtered it. So I was very, very grateful for that, because my feet were not feeling like walking that distance at all. I thought I'd be taking the time to walk down there this morning when I pass it further down the road. Yeah, this one's not so bad. It not only has a mirror, but some humor as well. So the GPS doesn't seem to want to work on the phone very well. It tells me I'm not where I am, where I believe I am, by a number of miles. I think it's called Otterbridge shelter, I think is what I'm aiming for. And I think it's 16 gas miles from here. It's before Palmerton anyway. Today, in a few miles, and before noon, I'll hit what they call the knife edge. And that's where rocks are at like a 45-degree angle or so. And it goes on for a couple hundred yards, apparently. And very technical, very careful, and definitely not something you want to do in the rain. And yeah, hopefully that's the only really bad spot for walking, because I do not enjoy the idea of having to take all day to get somewhere and have my feet hurt more than normal. My left foot, I think one in from the pinky, was all swollen yesterday, and very, very tender. So it's not like, well, is it broken or something? But anyway, feels okay right now. Hopefully it will remain that way. It's a little unnerving. I mean, I see white blazes. It's not in the back of that tree. But when I go to Guthook and I do a top view, I'm not on the Appalachian Trail. And it's been nothing but like a road. Well, since I left the camp or the shelter. I crossed another road, I went through a trail, it kind of became a road. There's another white blaze. Gut hook, you are letting me down. Kind of freaking me out. Because depend on that top view. If I'm on a path and I'm not sure if I'm in the right place. I mean, I've been looking down most of the time and just thinking about people back home and life, finances, stuff like that. And I look up and thinking, gee, am I really on the Appalachian Trail, or have I wandered off or past a turnoff that I didn't notice? So, thank goodness there are white blazes on trees to let you know you are on the trail. Well, let's see, what else did I not mention from yesterday? Well, Slurner and Shortcake, they were there at the shelter. They came about 7:30. They were wet from the rain, but since there was no room in the shelter and they didn't want to camp, I guess, so they called a friend and went on at some point to get picked up and stay in town. I guess their folks live not far from here, and they have a tramway with letters, Jeopardy, Broadway, Spreadsheet. I think that's what they're only for. Yeah, they all went and stayed with, I guess, Lerner's parents. July 4th and some fireworks and all that stuff, and so like they had a really good time. I feel left out, but you know, people tend to congregate within an age group, and I'm not that age group, so I mean, Letter is not young compared to them, but she fits in quite well, so no problem. Anyway, oh well, yeah, it'd be nice to be part of that type of thing, but I'm not, so I carry on. It's been very humid today. Oh shoot, I just come untied. And the sun's been out, although there is some haze up there. So shouldn't be too much longer, another hour I would think at least, to get to that, what do you call it? Razor's Edge or something like that. Anyway, with the tough rocks. Feet are feeling okay. I mean, I've been walking on a lane of a road, so an old logging road or something, so the trail's been pretty good. No bogs, a few rocks, lots of silk strands hanging from trees, though avoiding, but in this weather and the wetness, moisture, you can see them with the sunlight behind because I'm heading mostly east. And my arm's getting tired, so I guess I'll leave it at that. Not much of a view here from the power line, but sometimes this is all you get. I thought I'd take a short break. Been walking for 2 hours. Feels like longer. Had a little Cliff Bar and some cheese stick. Feet feel okay. It's been mostly my face. Just walking on an old logging road of some kind. It's getting a little rockier, so it's a little harder to walk through. Oh, a little better view here. Turn around, show that to you. Oh, morning.
How you doing today?
Speaking to that hiker, he's a ThruHiker. Name's Double Shot. hasn't had any injuries yet, other than maybe a few blisters some time ago. So he's doing well. And I guess he doesn't have a good hook because he doesn't know what's coming. He just hears from people that it's going to be a little tough, and I just explained to him what I heard. And yeah, a little breeze now. Ah, thank you. Yeah, I'm going to have a drink of water, put the pack back on, maybe, or I should say take a pee, and mosey on. Beginning. Take a stop here briefly at the knob. Take a look at that nice view. Top of a little peak, sweating good. I think the easy bake shelter is half a mile. I'll probably pop in there, have a lunch break, and then Leroy, whatever it is, shelter about 7 miles further on. Well, off we go, I guess. Here's somebody coming. Well, I did take a break at the Easy Bake shelter, an older one. Felt very small. I think it's only room for 6. Bumped into Bots and Hygiena when I was crossing over razor ledge or knife ledge, and they appeared at the shelter, talking with them. He said he thought I was going quite fast. I told him, well, you must be going very slow because I don't feel like I'm going very fast with my toes feeling the way they are. They're quite sore. And yeah, I met another hiker named Iron Man, an older guy. A little English. Right after he was telling me how he doesn't like to step on the top of rocks or pointy rocks or the edges of rocks or sloped rocks. A minute later, I get to a boulder field, and that's pretty much all there was. And it was not as bad as a razor's edge, but not great either. So anyway, he finally showed up as well at the shelter, and the 2 younger guys, the pot guys. I saw them taking a break earlier, and I guess they passed me on the razor's edge, and I finally got to the shelter, and one of them had dumped all his stuff out on the table, and drying stuff out. Quite a mess, took up a lot of space. And there was the guy I think I mentioned, Double Shot, former coffee company executive or worker, office worker. I'm sure it was Starbucks. He was there ahead of me. He also left before me, so he was ahead of me. I think we're all aiming for the same shelter, mostly because it's the last water source documented for like 20 miles. So it's a pretty big gap. Hopefully there'll be a water cache. I mean, there was a parking lot back there. There was a couple empty big water bottles and an empty cooler with a nice pack or 2 in it. So no trail magic for me there. But maybe someone will drop water off on the trail so we can back an extra bottle sometime tomorrow. I think the weather is going to be good, so it's not a matter of getting in the shelter, just that that's the last water source. And another hour and a half, I figure. But I'm laboring along in my sore toes and the usually rocky ground that I'm traversing. It's nice when it's like a road, but not so nice when it's rocky in the dirt. Anyway, that's it for now. Well, as I lay here in the shelter, I get the third one here from all the people that were at the previous shelter. One guy, Sunflower, who I'd originally met, she was back at the Presbyterian Church in, I don't even remember the name of the town, it's that free one, where I zeroed. Had to get my phone repaired at that town. Yeah, anyway, he slept on the stairs. And when I got out to pee, it's like, all this stuff is on the stairs. Not his. And all on my side, the side that I had to get out, which was a bit of a pain. And then like, oh, what is that? Oh, that's him sleeping in the stairs. Well, there was a room beside me in the shelter. Maybe no one actually told him there was a room. Anyway, I think about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, he got up and head out. And I think maybe went to a campsite or something along the way. But for whatever reason, he just didn't want to stick around anyway. And the other guy, Double Shot, he was apparently down at the camping area. Heard a little bit more about him. So we talked about, well, he's originally from Michigan, and he was 2 years old. His parents were taking the family to Alaska to make their fortune, and their car broke down in Seattle. So ultimately he went somewhere else, I guess after university, and then came back to Seattle and worked for Starbucks for a number of years. He was in finance before, so I'm sure that's the type of thing he was doing in the company. But he told me one of the neat benefits is that you get a free pound of coffee every week. And if you work a certain number of years and retire after a certain age or something like that, you continue to get that free pound of coffee. So getting free Starbucks coffee. Anyway, he and the Simpler both left this shelter to go further, but this is the last water for almost 20 miles apparently. You never know, someone may leave a supply of water bottles somewhere along the way, kind of Samaritan type thing, or Good Samaritan. Kind of like the water bottles that were left in a couple places today, that trail magic kind of thing. One still had bottles. The other guy, Iron Man, I think he was taking everything he could to fill his water bottles. Whereas I just grabbed one because of the rule. You know, if you take more than one, you're taking it from another hiker. And it's half a liter. It's fine. I got here, wasn't dehydrated, but it was pretty low in water. And the water, the trail goes right by the front of the shelter, so I'll see everybody go by. And the water is just, like I say, about 50 yards down the trail. So it's no great hardship to go down there and get it. Although, when you have feet like mine. Anyway, they were pretty irritable, the toes. Don't know what it is about the rocks, but something triggered the toes. And I kind of re-injured the muscle in my leg when I did the same kind of thing before, where I kind of pulled the toe back as I was stepping over a rock. So that was in the last mile, so it was almost a little bit lumping there. Anyway, I took a couple ibuprofen, and that's why I'm mostly lying on my back and with my leg up. And I had some tuna and Nutella and M&Ms and sour gummy worms type of thing for dessert, for my lunch, you can say, early supper, first supper. And I'm going to have a no-rice side with a couple of cheese sticks mixed in for dinner later tonight. I guess I'll have to hang the bear bag or the food bag up somewhere. Look for a spot a little bit later before I take my boots off. Maybe throw the cord over it for convenience sake. But I'm willing to bet that none of those people that were in the last shelter are going to end up here. I bet they'll come, they get water, and they move on. Or they're taking one of the camping spots on the way here, because there were a couple that were kind of nice. But there's no water there, so they had to bring their water with them. Bots and hygiene. Anyway, he was saying he was feeling kind of sick, like she had been sick the day before, and then he's kind of sick, and I was talking to him at the what do you call it, Pillsbury oven for kids, this is called. Anyway, but a shelter kind of suggesting, maybe just take a light day, like just you're here, stay here, lay down and just let the body heal itself. It's just a matter of 6 miles to here, so why kill yourself? So you may not come as far. From here, it continues on down into the town, where I may get a motel tomorrow, or hotel room. Don't know what it's going to cost, but it probably won't be cheap. And at least in Gut Hook, it doesn't mention internet. I don't know, my phone even has cellular coverage here, although I'm kind of on a hill, on the downward slope. And anyway, I'm hoping they have internet. If they don't have internet, that would be a real pain. I'd go all the way there to waste my time. I think that there's a bar that has a hostel for $25 a bunk, but again, I don't know if they have internet. If they did, then maybe I could even do that. I don't mind just a bunk. I could eat there at the bar. But once I get down, there's a 1,000-foot climb again, which if you're short on water is a real problem. So don't want to have that happen. And I think there's only a couple more days worth of Pennsylvania left, although the rocks will continue, I'm sure, into the next map, I believe, is crossing the Delaware River to some other river or something like that. So I'm assuming I'm going to be in Delaware. Best guess, without knowing my geography of the U.S. states. Yeah, and I better send a text out to Sarge and see if I can bum a couple nights on his living room floor or something like that with my mat, and visit in New York. As I recall, there's apparently a subway not far from where the AT is going to be. So you just walk to the subway and take the subway to wherever you're going. Not that I know where I'd be going. Alternatively, I guess they're inexpensive hotels, but they may be above Chinese restaurants in Aussie neighborhoods or something like that. I don't know. Not anything against Chinese restaurants. That's just what one of the people was saying earlier today. That may not be the best. Anyway, so yeah, I'm going to I guess get another bag of water for, well, maybe not. Maybe I'll just mix up the Aquamira tomorrow and drop them in the bottles, and then just fill up as I walk by the water source. It's like half of a beer keg, and they're kind of like a bathtub, but the water's pouring into. So I just fill up the water bottles like the Aquamira, and then 15 minutes later, I'm going to be able to drink from it anyway. So, and I can always carry some water in that Gnoc bag, like I tried before when I was going through what I thought was supposed to be a lot of exposed area, and ultimately wasn't. It's a little bit more to carry, but as I said, there's potentially no water for 20 miles or thereabouts. And on a hot, sunny day, that could be really, really, really a problem, especially if you're not fully hydrated before you start off, which I would definitely want to be. So I've got, looks like a liter and a half. I'll need most of that half for dinner and drinking tonight, and the other bottle I can down in the morning and, like I say, fill them up with some extra water. And oh, actually, if I'm going to the motel, I guess I don't need a lot of water. So I'm just going to the bottom of the hill. I'll have to look at GetHook and think about it a little bit more. Big deal is I need to upload videos because I'm 2 weeks, I think, behind at least getting stuff up, and it's really quite a backlog now. So until later.